Hey beautiful people, so today I'm going to be showing you guys how to get this super classic glam look, perfect for Valentine's Day but really any day. So if you want to see how I achieve this look, just keep watching. And if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. So I'm going to be starting off with this primed and peachy primer from Toofaced. This is definitely a underrated product to me. It is a water-based formula, so it doesn't take long to set into the skin, and it really keeps my makeup on all day without being too drying or too luminous. It has like the perfect amount of balance. And then I'm going to color correct even on my neck because I have a lot of dark spots going on right now. Like, it's just a hot mess. But we're going to get into the Nude Persuasion palette from Boliv Beauty. This is definitely one of my favorite nude palettes. I love it so much, but I'm using the PLouise base to set my eyes before I go in with the shade Sand, and I'm using that as my first transition shade. And as you can see, as it applies, like right off the bat, it's super pigmented. It does have like some kickback, but I never get any fallout, which is kind of crazy. And that just goes to show like how good this palette is. Like, I really love this palette, and if you love nudes, this is the palette for you. Like, you see how it's blending, but I'm just blending everything outwards because I love like a super blown out look. So next I'm gonna go in with the shade Caramel, and I'm putting this in the crease, like the inner part of the crease, not the inner part, but like the inner medium part. If that makes any sense. I mean, you see where I'm putting it, but I am just applying this to give the eye further definition, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm adding it to the outer corner. I'm going to add it to the lower lash line as well. One thing that I love about this palette is that these shades build up really nicely over each other. As you can see, like, it's giving definition. It's definitely layering really nicely. So I'm going to take the shade Butter Pecan, and I'm going to pop that on the brow bone and then just blend it out with like the excess shadow from my transition shade. And then I'm just going to take my transition shade and start connecting it to the lower lash line. This is one of my favorite parts of the process because you can really start to see the look coming together. I'm then going in with the shade Chocola, which is this really beautiful deep brown, and I'm going to focus that on the inner part of the lid as well as the outer part of the lid, and I'm going to do the same thing and blend that down to the lower lash line. And I'm telling you guys, the way these shadows blend, like, literally run, don't walk to get this palette. I cannot recommend it enough. They blend like butter, okay? Butter. I'm going to take a bit of the shade Caramel and just use that to diffuse out the shade that we just popped in the crease. And then I'm going to take Cafe, which is the deepest brown shade, and I'm going to pop that on the inner part of the lid, like the side of the lid. We're going to connect it to the bottom as well, and this is going to give us that really nice definition before we pop on our lid shade. Now, before I go in with the deepest shades, like in the inner part of my lower lash line, I'm going to make sure to blend out my PLouise base, because basically if it's creased and you put powder over it, it's going to stay that way. You want to make sure it's blended out before you apply any shadow. And then I'm going to go in with the PLouise base again and pop that in the waterline. You don't want to do too much because it will get in your eyes, just enough so that way you get that brightening effect, and it's going to make the eyes look bigger and wider and give you like that wide baby doll eyed look. I'm going to apply the PLouise base on my lid too and blend it out with my fingers, and then going in with mostly the shade Peachy but a little bit of Butter Pecan too, just to brighten it. I'm going to pop this on the lid, and I'm using a flat brush, but it's also fluffy, so that way I don't have any harsh lines when applying it. It gives it a really nice diffused look. And then I'm going to go in with the shade Caramel, and that's basically the transition color that we use. I'm going to use this to basically diffuse that lighter color in between the brown so that everything looks seamless and just cohesive. So after applying those light shades on the lid, I'm going to go back in with Cafe, which is the deepest shade on the highest part of my brow bone, just to add that contrast between the light shade and then the dark. This is going to provide the illusion of a bigger eyelid, basically. And then next we're going to go in with lashes. I'm using these called Full of It by Tailored Minks. This is definitely one of my favorite styles, and then I'm just going to line the lids just a little bit. So next we're going to get into the base. This is definitely my favorite part. I'm going to be mixing the Loreal Infallible foundation with the Nars matte. I can't think of the names right off the top of my head, but they will be listed on the screen. When I mix these two together, it has such a beautiful finish, and they just last together like so well. One of them, the Nars one, is kind of too light for me, and then the other one is too orange. So when I mix them, I get the perfect shade and the perfect finish. But when I apply my foundation, I kind of like to rub it into the skin with my fingers and let it melt in before I blend it out with my brush. And I just find that it helps to give a more natural look per se. So now going in with the Juvia's Place concealer in the shade 16. This is one of my holy grail concealers. I love it. It has a somewhat of a satin finish, so I like to sit it on my face for a few minutes before I blend it out, just because I find that I get more coverage. But I on my drier days, I love to use this concealer because it's just comfortable, but it still gives what it's supposed to give. And then I'm just mixing my Fenty concealer just to deepen the shade a little bit. Now when I go in with my beauty blender, I always like to saturate it in some setting spray. If you haven't tried this technique already, literally you need to. It will make the world of a difference. Everything will melt into your skin, and it'll just look and feel so much better, and it'll last throughout the day. After I fully blend out my concealer, I like to use the back side, the booty part, just to really make sure any harsh lines are blended out and set the product into the skin. After that, I'm going to go in with one of my favorite setting powders. It's also a baking powder, but it's from Give Me Glow Cosmetics. And I'm going to use my beauty blender to apply this, just so that I still get the effect from the setting spray that I applied. It's going to help it melt into the skin. But this powder gives a really poreless effect, and it just sets the base really nicely. And overall, you only need one layer of this because it does what it's supposed to do. Next, I'm going to go in with the original Midnight baking powder. Honestly, I feel like I'm the only one that still uses this in 2022. I can't even believe it's 2022. But anyways, I say if it's not broke, don't fix it. I still use the original baking powder. It does what it's supposed to do. It's just going to brighten the skin just a little bit, not too much. I did want this to be a natural finish. And then I'm going in with my truffle stick from Fenty. I'm going to use this to contour. And the Fenty cream stick does have a matte finish, but it still blends really nicely over powder. So I love the formula for that. Literally, when I use this, I don't have to set it with any powder. It's definitely optional, but you don't have to because it's almost like a cream to powder formula on its own. And when it comes to the jawline, I'm always generous with the contouring, because the way that my double chin has been making its appearance when nobody asks, it's a bit disrespectful. So we're just gonna, tuck her in. We're just gonna do that. And next I'm going in with my bronzer palette from Juvia's Place in the shade Tan. When I tell you guys, these bronzers and contours are so good. They are so amazing. I love this bronzer. I'm just going to use this to warm the skin, and then the deeper shade I'm going to go in with that to basically add some definition. Like I said, I really don't have to set the contour, but I want like a super snatched look because we're doing full glam, okay? So I'm going to take that same bronzer shade from the Juvia's Place palette and just use that to slightly contour the nose. I used to be like against contouring my nose, but when you apply foundation and powder, it really flattens your face out. So contouring just brings back some dimension. So I'm going to do the nose and then my lower lip as well. It just makes it look fuller. Going in with the Volume 2 blush palette from Juvia's Place, I'm going to mix these two shades and use this as blusher today. Honestly, Juvia's Place comes out with like super amazing products all the time. I have so many blushes from them. I actually have all of their blush palettes and I really love them. So now I'm going in with my Milani setting spray to make it last. This will keep you set all day. It's a really good setting spray. And then I'm going to use the infamous Fenty Trophy Wife highlighter. I haven't used this highlighter in so long. When I finally got my hands on it and decided to use it today, I definitely got a little bit heavy-handed. I don't know why I did that. Like, this is not even necessary, and yeah, I don't do this. This stuff is so potent, like it's so, yeah, it's a lot. Light-handed you should be, which I was not, but I'm just going to put that on my Cupid's bow and like the tip of my nose, just to accentuate my contour and further bring some dimension to the face. So now I'm going in with the Copenhagen lip liner from NYX Cosmetics. I'm going to use this to line the lips before we go in with our showstopper Lulu from Juvia's Place. A lot of the products that I'm using today are from Juvia's Place because they just have really great products, like really great quality products. I could go on and on, but Lulu is hands down one of my favorite red lips. It's definitely in my top 5 for red lips, but it is a matte formula, a liquid matte formula, and it lasts pretty much all day too. It does transfer a little bit, but for the most part it's going to last throughout the day, and it does layer nicely. What you're going to see, I'm putting on a layer and then you're going to see me apply a second layer. And it's just such a stunning shade. Like, it's such a beautiful cool tone red. I love me a cool tone red because it never looks too orange, but still has the perfect amount of warmth. It's just beautiful. It's giving pinup girl, okay? It's giving. And you guys, that is it for this look. I really hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial. It's such a classic look. You can never go wrong with like a beautiful matte eye, red lip. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And thanks for watching.